Actually, in your book, The Voice of the Rising Generation, you coin this new term, rising generation, which I think most of us think of the terminology next generation. I'm just wondering if you can help us understand the significance of this new language that you've introduced to us of rising generation.
Thank you, Ruth. My co-authors, Keith Whitaker and Susan Masenzio, and I set ourselves the task with this title to try to eliminate the word next. I'm happy to say, about 3 years in from that book, that I go to most meetings now and I hear the word rising. So I ask people cognitively to try to recreate in their minds, when they thought of generation, the word rising, future, rather than next. If one feels the word next, it's a very uninteresting word. It's actually diminishing. None of us really likes to be next. We really don't. It's not good. And it says that somebody else was there first. Yeah? It doesn't feel that good. It doesn't feel comfortable to us. Now, if I substitute the word rising, I'm actually speaking to the truth. Because each generation is rising in its own way, just like the sun comes up. Yes, youth comes, it rises. And that's the energy a family has to have to do well. It's got to be an accretive enterprise, accreting energy, because the law of entropy means it's going to be diminishing entropy, such as the proverb shirt sleeves to shirt sleeves describes entropy. Energy to matter, matter back to energy. So what do we need more than anything else? We need rising. We need the accumulation of energy. And we need more of that than what we're going to naturally lose by people who die and have illness and whatever. So my colleagues and I felt that if we could get rid of the word next, which is flat, maybe even diminishing, and replace it with a word that is a lifting word, an enhancing word, we could help families feel we're growing. So that's why rising.
Thank you. Wonderful. And you talk about a concept called the black hole. And you describe the dilemma of the rising generation. Is their role really to steward the founder's dream? Or is it to have their own personal dream, and that yin and yang? And I'm wondering if you can explore that a little bit with us and help us understand that a bit better.
Wendy, this is the second generation's great dilemma. And it had long been my hope that I would find a way to get into print what I was experiencing in families. So let's take the black hole first, and then we'll move to the yin-yang question of personal dream and stewarding a dream. In our universe, made up only of energy, there is this small amount of matter, and shouldn't be there. But it exists. Higgs boson, whatever the quantum physics is, we know that matter exists, and we're all here today, right? So when we look at this process in families over 3 generations, I prefer 5 to flourishing, but shirt sleeve to shirt sleeve, creation, plateau, stagnation, disintegration. What do we see? Well, we see in this idea of wealth creator a person larger than life. And in fact, they are, because they take energy and make it matter. That's really godlike, small g, no blasphemy, but it shouldn't be possible for a human being to do that. So that means a huge dream is made material. That's an extraordinary thing. Now, what does our universe know about matter? It knows and teaches us that anything that becomes matter must go back to energy. It doesn't say when. It just says that's the immutable reality of our universe. Energy to matter to energy. So what my colleagues and I realized in writing Voice of the Rising Generation, and something I realized years and years ago, is that something has to happen to the dream, this enormous dream that becomes matter.
Right.
What does our universe tell us? Black holes. It tells us if the matter was really huge, that it doesn't just fizzle out and become a dark planet. It becomes this immensely powerful force with a vortex that takes everything in. So the dream now takes everything in, thereby missing an incredibly important point, that it's new dreams that have everything to do with how we do in family. So if there's only one dream, and we know that that dream will collapse, it doesn't mean the money goes away or the business goes away. No, I'm not saying that at all. The dream has to vanish. It's evanescent. I can't dream, Wendy, your dream. You can't dream mine. I can't dream anyone else's dream. So that dream is evanescent, even if it looks hugely in matter. So what happens? It collapses to a black hole. Now, when it becomes a black hole, it's not good or bad. It is simply a force in nature that takes all other dreams away. No family can sustain itself in the face of the loss of its rising generation's dreams. Another way to look at this and illustrate it, and I hope our viewers would do this themselves, is to take the yin-yang picture. I think it's a very easy one with a wavy line down the middle, and you've got white and black, and a little black in the white, and a little white in the black, what have you. And fill in the two sides with one side that says stewarding another's dream, and the other side which says personal dream. What do we know? And I think all of our viewers will almost intuit this too. If we now put the yin-yang in motion, and the family's words to its rising generation is, your job is to steward this dream. You keep this business, keep these assets, keep this dream alive. That's your job. And to be frank, that's what 95% of advisors believe is their job, because that's part of the black hole of the dream. All right? What happens? What happens to the yin-yang is the line of stewarding moves way over to the right, and personal dream starts disappearing, or it's just a sliver of a moon.
Right.
That's living death. If I spend my life stewarding your dream, I didn't show up. I didn't individuate. I didn't show up. That's what happens with the black hole. Now, suppose on the other hand, in the first two stages of life, individuation stage, rising, middle stage, differentiation. Who am I in work? Who am I as a partner in love? Do I create a family? Who am I bringing my dreams to life? Now what's happened? The line has moved left. Personal dream occupies 80% or 90% of that. And stewarding dream is still there, still duties, still responsibilities, didn't go away. I'm not saying it goes away ever. But now what happens? Now I become who I'm meant to be. I learn to work. I learn to love. I learn to do the two things I most need to do. Right? Yeah. And now I come to the third stage of my life, which is when stewarding throughout history has been normal. Normal. Why? Because we're integrated. Now we're ready to have a yin-yang that's balanced again. Personal dream has come to life. We're ready to steward someone else's dream because we have a way of doing it. We're strong enough. And now we can stand next to the black hole, but not in it. We can have its energy, but not be diminished by it. So this movement, this flow of personal dream, individuation, differentiation, back to integration, that's when we get ready to steward something. But asking people to steward before they know who they are, before they've learned what their work is, before they've brought their dreams to life, this is a human tragedy. And yet it is all too often the message, because black wholes are enormously powerful.
They are.
That's why we understand them to be so incredibly powerful within the universe.
Thank you.
How can we help them practically? And maybe you perhaps answered this question in the last answer you gave, that it's maybe through education, but are there other practical ways that we can help wealth creators just pause and take a look at whether or not they are inadvertently imposing their dream on the next generation, even if with the best of intentions?
Ruth, I think that candidly, it is almost impossible for a wealth creator doing this remarkable action in life of taking a dream and making it material to disbelieve that his or her dream is not the only dream. So my view, long view, has been the second generation is the generation that really cares about family. It can do the creative generative act itself in creating family, and I think that's the second generation's work. When the second generation is seen as the plateau, the stagnation, because it changes its way of life, changes its universities, changes where it lives, goes in the country clubs, it's stagnating. When the second generation sees itself as the creator of a long-term family, it has work to do. It's not work in opposition to this creative dream at all. It's its own work to do. And it's going to have to do that work because it is at the effect of that dream. Can't make it go away. It's the facts of its life. So
rather than dissuading the wealth creator, we should be focusing on the rising generation.
I believe that that's where, and then it's win-win. Because now, and this is sort of fascinating, now the wealth creator can say, I don't have to do that, without admitting that he or she is not interested. It's actually an act of love by the advisor. It's actually saying, you know, this isn't your job. You do what you love. Tell the stories. However, don't ask someone to steward what you love before they are developmentally ready to do so. And recognize that they may have other work to do, not just with their own dream, but within this family systems question. And bless that work. And one last thing. Look in your children for the leader from behind. Look for the one for whom growing a family, a community, making good joint decisions long term, and that isn't going to be the one who has anything to do with continuing to manage your dream. It has to do with a different task, but it's a task you want done. It's a task you want doing, but it isn't going to be necessarily a person like you. They're going to do their act of creation, their dream, in this community development.
Right. It's a critically important role.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.